Hi, this is Rabbi Zach Pleasant, and you are listening to You've Always Belonged Here, Temple Israel of Westport's new podcast. Each week, we will share moments from the Bima given by our clergy team or conversations with members of our staff or community.
As some of you may know, or some of you have wondered, or some of you can just tell, I am 35 weeks pregnant. And even just saying that out loud so publicly on the Bima makes me anxious. And that's in part because pregnancy has led me to encounter the many Jewish pregnancy-related superstitions, many of which you probably know. Traditionally, we don't say mazel tov upon hearing of a pregnancy. We say b'sha'a tova. We say in a good hour. You don't want to congratulate too soon. You want to give the baby time to cook. There are customs of avoiding baby showers, gifts, any nursery setup. Some people prefer not to announce their pregnancy at all. I have heard and said more poo and God willing in the last couple of months than ever before in my life. For those who don't know the full poo sentence, because I didn't, I had to look it up. It is short for bli ayin hara, poo, which translates as there should be no evil eye, spit. Poo is spit. And spit has healing powers, according to tradition. Its Yiddish cousin is kenahora. Now, some of these practices, and many of them, reflect the very real anxieties around pregnancy. The fears around viability, the incredible vulnerability and hope and terror of this time, all of which I have experienced. And there's also an element of Jewish superstition that surely goes with the psychological and medical components, but I don't know that the evil eye factored in so much to those, because all of these Jewish customs stem from the idea that drawing attention to a happy occasion also draws the attention of evil spirits. There's a superstitious fear that by speaking about your good fortune, you're sinfully bragging and actually attracting the attention of the evil eye, who will then come down and spoil it. God forbid. As the Sefer Hasidim would say, one should not believe in superstitions, but it is best to be heedful of them, a teaching that I frankly love, just in case they're working. And none of this is Jewish law, but it comes from Jewish folktales and Jewish superstitious traditions throughout generations that have suggested that we couldn't and shouldn't and oughtn't to celebrate our blessings because that means that the evil eye would take them. And the superstitions don't just apply to pregnancy. You'll hear the poo or kenahora in the context of all sorts of positive news. A professional achievement or strong season in business, a milestone birthday, a good test result or health outcome. Really, anytime things are going well, there's a fear that some envious outside power in the universe will take it away. And so instead of calling attention to these blessings, a Jewish practice can sometimes be to caveat or minimize them, or just wait for them, God willing, to come true. This week's Torah portion, Parashat Eikev, also approaches abundance and blessing through a similar lens of ambivalence and modesty, bordering on critique, actually. Moses details the extraordinary blessings that the Israelites will encounter once they enter the land of Israel. He talks about the bountiful land full of iron and copper, the 7 species, a land flowing with milk and honey. He talks about the fertility of humans, livestock, and agriculture, the military victories, the elimination of illness. There's so much goodness waiting for them on the other side of the Jordan. But then in almost the same breath, Moses admonishes the Israelites, teaching them that they have to be very careful with how they react to this goodness. Moses says to them, It is not because of your virtues that you will be able to possess their country. It is because of the wickedness, their wickedness, that God is dispossessing them, and it is in order to fulfill the oath that God made to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He goes even further, saying, beware lest your heart grow haughty, and you say to yourselves, my own power and the might of my own hand have won this wealth for me. Remember that it is God who gives you the power to get wealth. Essentially, Moses is saying that the Israelites will receive these blessings not through any merit or worthiness, but essentially through a process of elimination. The other peoples are simply worse, and out of a commitment to the ancient ancestral promise that God made with the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So whereas Jewish superstition teaches that celebrating one's blessings can lead to bad luck, Moses' teachings suggest that celebrating one's blessings can lead to arrogance and haughtiness, a lack of perspective, and even entitlement. In the harshest read, he's telling the Israelites, don't celebrate your blessings because you don't deserve them. They need to remember how low, stiff-necked, and unworthy they are. But we know that both the approaches of superstitious avoidance and this extreme Mosaic modesty don't actually represent the fullness of how Jews react to goodness in our lives. And I would argue that the most Jewish reaction to blessing is to acknowledge goodness by giving thanks. In fact, in this very parsha, tucked in the middle of all those verses cautioning against haughtiness, we have the commandment to do just that, to give thanks. Moses says, "Ve'achalta v'savata uve'rachta et Adonai Elohecha." When you have eaten and are satisfied, you shall bless your God Adonai, al ha'aretz hatova asher natan lach, for the good land that God has given you. This verse actually becomes the foundational text for Birkat Hamazon, the blessing over food that's recited after eating. Did any of you learn or do the Birkat at summer camp? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu. You don't have to do it with me right now. We can do it after Motzi or after Challah. If you did the long version, you might even remember Kakatu ve'achalta v'savata uve'rachta. So that's from this parsha. Ve'achalta v'savata uve'rachta et Adonai Elohecha. Another version of the Birkat that we recite is one in Aramaic. Brich rachamana malka de alma mare de hai pita. Brich rachamana, blessed is the merciful one. Malka de alma, king of or sovereign of the universe. Mare de hai pita, master of pita, or master of bread. Blessed is this merciful God who gives us bread to eat. In offering all these blessings of thanksgiving, we are paying attention to the abundance in our lives. Not because, as superstitions would suggest and critique, we're bragging, but also not because, as Moses would suggest, we believe we're deserving, but because we're simply grateful. It is so good for us spiritually, socially, and emotionally to offer thanks for the blessings that we receive. And these thanks go beyond thanking God. Whether you're doing the full benching, the Birkat after meals, or the abbreviated Aramaic, or thanking whoever went grocery shopping and cooked dinner, or generously tipping your waiter or DoorDasher, we are required to give thanks for the blessing of food. And I'll add that these requirements are in addition to offering the blessings before we eat, like hamotzi. We bless with a full plate and with an empty one. And there's something quite profound about this. We're not in the state of hunger or need that we were when we first sat down. We've eaten achalta, and we've been satisfied, sabata, and yet we still need to take time to give thanks. And so perhaps this grateful response to blessing is actually the most effective way to both ward off the evil eye and the most powerful antidote to haughtiness and entitlement. As author Lily Goldstein beautifully points out, poo is really the flip side of another favorite Jewish expression, Baruch Hashem, which which means God is blessed, or more loosely translated, we thank God or thank God. It's a way of saying, I feel blessed by God and constantly thankful for my good fortune. And so we offer thanks for the goodness in our lives, and moreover, we offer thanks for the very opportunity to bless that goodness so that we may never forget how truly lucky we are. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of You've Always Belonged Here. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Temple Israel, visit our website, tiwestport.org, follow us on Instagram at Temple Israel Westport, or like us on Facebook, Temple Israel of Westport, Connecticut.